In 2026, more Americans will lose their Social Security benefits than any year in the past decade. Some will lose them for earning $50 too much in 1 month. Some will lose them for not responding to a single letter. Some will lose them because of changes they don't even know about yet. And here's the worst part: most of them could have prevented it. Over the next hour, I'm going to walk you through every single way your Social Security benefits can be terminated in 2026. Retirement, disability, survivors, dependents, all of it. I'll give you the exact dollar amounts, the specific rules, and most importantly, the steps you need to take right now to protect yourself. This isn't just information. This is your financial survival guide for 2026. Let's get into it. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type "interested" in the comments, and I will give you a heart. Before we dive into the specifics, let me explain why this video exists and why you absolutely need to watch it all the way through. This isn't just another Social Security update video. This is about protecting money that you've earned, money that you depend on, and money that could disappear if you don't know the rules. The Social Security Administration is undergoing significant changes right now. We're talking about a complete transformation in how they operate, how they review cases, and how they catch errors and fraud. Let me break down what's happening. First, there's increased automation and artificial intelligence integration in benefit reviews. The SSA is now using AI systems to scan through medical records, cross-reference databases, and identify patterns that human reviewers might miss. This means reviews are faster, more thorough, and more likely to catch discrepancies. Second, there's enhanced data sharing between government agencies. The SSA is now connected to the IRS, state vital records, Medicare databases, payroll companies, and more. Information that used to take months to obtain can now be accessed in real time. If you're working a job and earning income, the SSA can potentially see that payroll data as it's being processed. Third, we're seeing more aggressive enforcement of existing rules. Rules that have been on the books for years but weren't always strictly enforced are now being applied consistently. The technology exists to catch violations, so they're catching them. Fourth, the dollar thresholds have been updated for 2026. These are the numbers that determine whether you're earning too much, whether you have too many resources, whether you qualify for benefits. If you're using last year's numbers, you could be making costly mistakes. What does all of this mean for you personally? It means that things that might have slipped through the cracks before are now being caught. Earning a little too much at a part-time job. Missing a form that got lost in the mail. Forgetting to report a change in your living situation. Not updating your address. These things are much more likely to trigger a review, a suspension, or a termination now than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. The SSA has better tools, faster processing, and more data than ever before in its history. They can see more, they can analyze more, and they can act faster. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't meant to scare you. I'm not here to make you paranoid about your benefits. I'm here to prepare you. Because here's the truth that most people don't understand. Almost every single benefit termination is preventable if you know the rules. People lose benefits not because the system is unfair, but because they didn't know what they weren't supposed to do. They didn't know earning over a certain amount would trigger a reduction. They didn't know they had 10 days to respond to a letter, not 30. They didn't know that giving money to a family member could create a penalty period. Knowledge is protection. And that's exactly what this video is going to give you. I've organized this video into clear sections so you can find exactly what applies to your situation. Here's what we're going to cover. Section 1 is retirement benefit terminations. If you're collecting Social Security retirement benefits, especially if you're still working or thinking about working, this section is critical. We'll cover the earnings test, the exact dollar limits, and how the math works when you earn too much. Section 2 is disability benefit terminations. That's SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. We'll cover the work limits, the trial work period, how continuing disability reviews work, and what's changing with AI automation in 2026. Section 3 is SSI benefit terminations. Supplemental security income has completely different rules than SSDI. The resource limits, the income calculations, the reporting requirements. If you're on SSI, this section could save your benefits. Section 4 is survivor and dependent benefit terminations. If you're receiving benefits as a widow, widower, ex-spouse, or child, there are specific triggers that could end your benefits. Remarriage, aging out, changes in status. We'll cover all of them. Section 5 is universal termination triggers. These are the things that can end your benefits no matter what program you're on. Fraud, incarceration, failure to cooperate, and more. And finally, I'll give you a complete 2026 protection action plan. Specific steps you can take this week to protect your benefits for the entire year. If you're watching this on YouTube, I've put timestamps in the description so you can jump directly to the section that applies to you. But honestly, I'd recommend watching the whole thing. You might be surprised by what affects you. You might have a family member on a different program. You might be approaching a transition from one benefit type to another. The more you understand about the whole system, the better you can protect yourself and the people you care about. One more thing before we get started. I want you to grab something to take notes with. A pen and paper, your phone, whatever works for you. There are specific numbers in this video that you need to remember. Dollar amounts, deadlines, thresholds. I'll highlight them as we go, but write them down. Put them somewhere you can reference them throughout the year. This is information that could literally save you thousands of dollars. Treat it that way. Alright, let's start by making sure everyone understands how Social Security actually works. Even if you think you know this, stick with me. There are details here that most people get wrong, and those details matter when we start talking about terminations. To understand how benefits can be terminated, you first need to understand how they're earned in the first place. And here's something that surprises a lot of people. Social Security isn't one program. It's actually several different programs operating under one umbrella. Each program has different eligibility rules, different funding sources, and most importantly for our purposes, different termination triggers. Let me break down each program so you know exactly where you stand. First, we have what's called Title II programs. These are the earned benefit programs. You qualify for these by working, paying taxes, and earning credits over time. There are 4 main Title II programs. Program number 1 is retirement benefits. This is what most people think of when they hear Social Security. You earn retirement benefits by working and paying FICA taxes throughout your career. Those taxes fund the Social Security Trust Fund, and when you retire, you draw from that fund based on your earnings history. To qualify for retirement benefits, you need 40 credits. You can earn up to 4 credits per year, so that's roughly 10 years of work. In 2026, you earn 1 credit for every $1,890 in earnings, up to the maximum of 4 credits per year. Once you have your 40 credits, you're eligible for retirement benefits for life. The amount you receive depends on your 35 highest earning years. The more you earned and the longer you worked, the higher your benefit. You can claim as early as 62 with a reduced benefit, or wait until 70 for the maximum benefit. Full retirement age for most people watching this is 67. Program number 2 is Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. This is also an earned benefit. You qualify by working and paying taxes just like retirement. But instead of needing 40 lifetime credits, you need a certain number of recent credits, depending on your age when you become disabled. For most adults, you need 20 credits in the last 10 years before your disability began. Younger workers need fewer credits. The idea is that you've been recently attached to the workforce before your disability prevented you from working. Your SSDI benefit amount is calculated similarly to retirement. It's based on your earnings history. And here's something important. If you're on SSDI and you reach full retirement age, your disability benefit automatically converts to a retirement benefit. The amount stays the same, but the program changes. Program number 3 is survivor benefits. These are paid to eligible family members when a worker dies. The deceased worker must have earned enough credits for their survivors to qualify. Depending on the worker's age at death, as few as 6 credits might be enough. Who can receive survivor benefits? Widows and widowers can receive benefits starting at age 60, or age 50 if they're disabled. A surviving spouse at any age can receive benefits if they're caring for the deceased child who is under 16 or disabled. Children can receive benefits if they're under 18, or under 19 if still in high school, or any age if they were disabled before age 22. In some cases, dependent parents over age 62 can also receive survivor benefits. The amount is based on what the deceased worker would have received. A widow or widower at full retirement age receives 100% of the deceased's benefit. At age 60, it's reduced to about 71.5%. Program number 4 is dependent benefits. These are paid to family members of living workers who are receiving retirement or disability benefits. A spouse can receive up to 50% of the worker's benefit amount. Children under 18 or under 19 if in high school, or disabled before age 22, can also receive dependent benefits. There are family maximum limits, so if multiple family members are collecting on one worker's record, each person's benefit might be reduced to stay under the cap. Now, all 4 of those programs are Title II. They're funded by FICA taxes. They're earned through work. The rules are generally more protective of beneficiaries because you paid into the system. But there's another program that's completely different. It's called Title 16 or Supplemental Security Income, known as SSI. SSI is not an earned benefit. You don't qualify through work credits. You qualify based on need. SSI is funded by general tax revenue, not the Social Security Trust Fund. It's essentially a federal welfare program administered by the Social Security Administration. To qualify for SSI, you must meet one of three criteria. Either you're age 65 or older, or you're blind, or you're disabled. But meeting one of those criteria isn't enough. You also must have limited income and limited resources. The income limits are complex and we'll get into them in the SSI section. The resource limits are straightforward but strict. In 2026, you cannot have more than $2,000 in countable resources as an individual, or $3,000 as a married couple. That's it. Go over that limit by $1 even for one day and you can lose your benefits for that month. Why does this distinction between Title II and Title 16 matter so much? Because the termination rules are completely different. With Title II benefits, you've paid into the system. You've earned your benefits. The rules are designed to protect that investment. Terminating someone's retirement or SSDI benefits requires meeting specific legal standards. There are appeals processes. There are protections built in. With SSI, it's a needs-based program. You have to continuously prove that you still need the help. The reporting requirements are stricter. The reviews are more frequent. The ways you can lose benefits are more numerous. Let me give you a quick example to illustrate this difference. On SSDI, if you inherit $50,000 from a relative, nothing happens to your benefits. SSDI doesn't have a resource limit. You could have $1 million in the bank and still receive SSDI as long as you're not earning over the work limits. On SSI, if you inherit $50,000, your benefits stop immediately. You're now over the $2,000 resource limit. You won't get another SSI check until you spend down that inheritance to under $2,000. And you have to spend it on approved things. You can't just give it away to family members to get back under the limit without facing penalties. Same situation. Completely different outcomes. That's why understanding which program you're on is absolutely critical. Some people are on multiple programs. You can receive SSDI and SSI at the same time if your SSDI amount is low enough. You can receive retirement and survivor benefits in certain situations. The rules get complicated when programs overlap. If you're not sure exactly which programs you're on, log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. It will show you exactly what you're receiving and from which program. This is important information to have before we continue. Alright, now that you understand the foundation, let's get into the specific termination triggers. We're starting with retirement benefits because that's the most common program, and the earnings test catches more people off guard than almost anything else. If you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, this section is absolutely critical, especially if you're still working or thinking about going back to work. The retirement earnings test catches more people off guard than almost any other rule in the Social Security system. Let's break down every way your retirement benefits can be reduced, suspended, or effectively terminated. The first and biggest termination trigger is the retirement earnings test. If you're receiving retirement benefits and you're working and you haven't reached full retirement age yet, there's a limit to how much you can earn before your benefits start getting taken away. For 2026, that magic number is $24,480 per year. Write that down. Memorize it. Put it on your refrigerator. This number could save you thousands of dollars. Let me put this limit in historical perspective so you can see how it's changed. In 2021, the limit was $18,960. In 2022, it went up to $19,560. In 2023, it was $21,240. In 2024, it increased to $22,320. In 2025, it was $23,400. And now in 2026, we're at $24,480. The limit goes up each year with inflation, but it's still not a lot of money. That $24,480 works out to just $2,040 per month. If you're working even a modest part-time job, you can hit that limit faster than you think. Now here's how the math works, and pay close attention because this is where people get confused. For every $2 you earn above $24,480, the SSA takes away $1 of your benefits. This is called the dollar for $2 reduction. It's not a tax. It's not a fee. They literally withhold a portion of your Social Security check. Let me walk you through some real examples so you can see exactly how this plays out in practice. Example 1. You're 63 years old. You claimed early retirement and you're receiving $1,500 per month in benefits. That's $18,000 per year. You decide to work part-time at a local store and you earn $36,000 for the year. Here's the calculation. You take your $36,000 in earnings and subtract the $24,480 limit. That gives you $11,520 over the limit. Now divide that by 2. That's a $5,760 reduction in your benefits. Your $18,000 annual benefit gets reduced to $12,240. You're still getting some benefits, but you just lost almost $6,000. Example 2. Same situation. You're 63, receiving $1,500 per month, but now you're working more hours. You earn $54,000 for the year. Let's do the math. $54,000 minus $24,480 equals $29,520 over the limit. Divide by 2 and that's a $14,760 reduction. Your $18,000 benefit is now reduced to just $3,240 for the entire year. That's only $270 per month instead of $1,500. Example 3. This is the complete wipeout scenario. Same person, but now earning $60,480 or more. At $60,480, you're $36,000 over the limit. Half of that is $18,000, which is your entire annual benefit. Your retirement benefits for that year are reduced to 0. You've effectively terminated your own benefits through earnings. Now, I want to be clear about something important here. This money isn't gone forever. The SSA keeps track of every month your benefits were withheld due to the earnings test. When you reach full retirement age, they recalculate your benefit to give you credit for those withheld months. Your monthly benefit going forward will be slightly higher to account for the months you didn't receive payment. But here's the reality. That doesn't help you right now if you need that money today. If you're counting on that $1,500 a month to pay rent, buy groceries, and cover your bills, being told you'll get it back later in slightly higher monthly payments doesn't solve your immediate problem. There's a different rule for the year you reach full retirement age. Only earnings before the month you reach full retirement age count toward the limit. And the limit itself is higher. For 2026, you can earn up to $65,280 in the months before you reach full retirement age. Plus, the reduction is less severe. You only lose $1 for every $3 earned over the limit, not $1 for every $2. And once you actually reach full retirement age, the earnings test disappears completely. You can earn $500,000 a year and your retirement benefits won't be reduced by a single penny. This is why many financial advisors recommend waiting until full retirement age to claim benefits if you plan to keep working. Let's talk about what actually counts as earnings for this test. This trips people up all the time. Earnings that count toward the limit include wages from a job, net self-employment income, bonuses and commissions, and vacation pay or sick pay. Basically, if you're actively working for it, it counts. Earnings that don't count include pension payments, investment income like dividends and interest and capital gains, IRA or 401k withdrawals, rental income in most cases, and annuity payments. If you're living off retirement accounts, pensions, and investments, you're generally fine. It's the active work income that triggers the earnings test. The second termination trigger is the government pension offset, or GPO. This affects people who worked for state or local governments that didn't participate in Social Security. If you receive a pension from that type of work and you're also eligible for Social Security spousal or survivor benefits, those benefits can be reduced or completely eliminated. The GPO reduces your spousal or survivor benefit by 2/3 of your government pension amount. Here's an example. You receive a $3,000 per month government pension from your career as a teacher. You're also eligible for a $2,000 per month Social Security spousal benefit based on your spouse's work record. The GPO reduces your spousal benefit by 2/3 of $3,000, which is $2,000. Your $2,000 spousal benefit minus the $2,000 GPO reduction equals 0. Your spousal benefit is completely eliminated. This catches a lot of retired teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other public employees completely off guard. They worked their whole careers expecting to receive both their government pension and Social Security spousal benefits, only to find out at retirement that the spousal benefit is gone. The third termination trigger is the Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP. This is similar to GPO but affects your own retirement benefit instead of spousal benefits. If you have both Social Security covered work and non-covered government work, WEP can reduce your own retirement benefit by up to $587 per month in 2026. It won't eliminate your benefit entirely like GPO can, but it takes a significant chunk. The fourth trigger is voluntary suspension. This isn't really a termination in the bad sense. If you're between full retirement age and 70, you can voluntarily suspend your benefits to earn delayed retirement credits. For every year you delay past full retirement age up to 70, your benefit increases by about 8%. Some people claim benefits then realize they don't need them yet and suspend to earn those credits. Your checks stop, but you're choosing that. Remember these numbers. The 2026 earnings limit is $24,480. Full retirement age for most of you is 67. After full retirement age, there is no earnings limit. Understand these rules before you decide to work in retirement. Social Security disability insurance has its own set of termination triggers that are completely different from retirement benefits. And in 2026, some of these rules are being enforced more aggressively than ever before thanks to new technology and automation at the SSA. If you're receiving SSDI, you need to understand every single way those benefits can be taken away from you. The first and most common termination trigger is substantial gainful activity, or SGA. This is the earnings limit for disabled individuals. For 2026, the SGA limit is $1,690 per month for non-blind individuals and $2,830 per month for blind individuals. Write those numbers down. They're different from the retirement earnings test and they work differently too. Here's the basic concept. Social Security disability benefits are for people who cannot work at a substantial level due to their medical conditions. If you're consistently earning over the SGA limit, the SSA considers that proof that you can work at a substantial level. And if you can work substantially, you're no longer disabled in their eyes, which means you no longer qualify for disability benefits. But here's where SSDI is actually more generous than you might think. There are significant protections built into the system to let you test your ability to work without immediately losing everything. The first protection is called the trial work period. When you first start working while on SSDI, you get 9 months where you can earn any amount without losing your benefits. These 9 months don't have to be consecutive. They can be spread out over a rolling 60-month period. In 2026, a trial work month is any month you earn over $1,160 or work more than 80 hours in self-employment. During these 9 trial work months, you keep your full disability check no matter how much you earn. You could earn $5,000 in a month during the trial work period and still receive your complete SSDI payment. The purpose is to let you test whether you can actually sustain work without risking your financial lifeline. The second protection is the extended period of eligibility. After your 9 trial work months are used up, you enter a 36-month extended period of eligibility. During these 36 months, your benefits become like a switch. In any month you earn under the SGA limit of $1,690, you receive your full benefit. In any month you earn over $1,690, you don't receive a benefit for that month. But if your earnings drop back down the next month, your benefits turn right back on. No reapplication required. No waiting period. The benefits just restart. This gives you 3 full years of safety net after the trial work period. You can try working, scale back if it's too much, try again, scale back again. The benefits are there when you need them throughout those 36 months. But here's where it gets serious. After the trial work period and after the extended period of eligibility, if you're earning over SGA, your benefits are terminated. And I mean terminated. Not suspended. Not reduced. Terminated. Your case is closed. To get back on SSDI, you would generally need to file a brand new application and go through the entire process from scratch. That could take months or even years. There is one exception called expedited reinstatement. If your benefits were terminated because of work, but within 5 years you become unable to work again due to your condition, you may qualify for expedited reinstatement. This is faster than a new application, and you can receive provisional benefits while your case is reviewed. But the key is that 5-year window. Once you're past 5 years from termination, expedited reinstatement is no longer available. You're starting completely over. The second major termination trigger is the Continuing Disability Review, or CDR. This is a periodic review where the SSA evaluates whether you're still disabled. The frequency of reviews depends on your expected improvement. If your condition is expected to improve, you might be reviewed every 6 to 18 months. If improvement is possible but not expected, reviews come every 3 years. If improvement is not expected, you might only be reviewed every 5 to 7 years. Here's what's changing in 2026 that you need to know about. The SSA is implementing more artificial intelligence and automation in the CDR process. This means they can pull medical records electronically from more healthcare facilities than ever before. They're building a network of providers where they can essentially request your records automatically without mailing paper forms and waiting weeks for responses. The AI systems can analyze your medical documentation faster and more thoroughly. They can identify patterns of improvement that a human reviewer working through a stack of files might miss. They can cross-reference your medical records with other databases to build a more complete picture of your functional abilities. What does this mean for you practically? It means CDRs may be more thorough than they used to be. Patterns of improvement in your medical records that might have been overlooked before could now be flagged for closer review. The CDR process works like this. First, you receive a form asking about your medical treatment, your daily activities, and how your condition affects your functioning. Second, the SSA requests your medical records from your providers. Third, a disability examiner reviews everything in your file. Fourth, they may send you to a consultative examination with a doctor of their choosing. Fifth, a determination is made. Either you're still disabled or you're not disabled. To terminate your benefits through a CDR, the SSA must generally find three things. 1. Your condition has medically improved. 2. The improvement is related to your ability to work. 3. You can now perform substantial gainful activity. This is called the Medical Improvement Standard, and it's designed to protect beneficiaries from losing benefits just because a reviewer has a different opinion than the original decision maker. If the SSA determines you're no longer disabled, you'll receive a cessation notice. And here's the most critical piece of information in this entire section. You have 10 days to request that your benefits continue while you appeal. Not 60 days. Not 30 days. 10 days from the date on that notice. If you make that request within 10 days, your benefits keep coming throughout the entire appeals process, which can take months or even over a year. If you miss that 10-day window, your benefits stop immediately and you're fighting from zero income. The third termination trigger is failure to cooperate. The SSA has the authority to terminate your benefits if you refuse to cooperate with reasonable requests. This includes refusing to attend a consultative examination, not providing requested medical evidence, not completing required forms, and not responding to attempts to contact you. If the SSA asks you to see a doctor they've scheduled, you need to go. If they send you a form to complete, you need to complete it. If they call or send letters, you need to respond. The fourth trigger is fraud. If you obtain disability benefits through fraud, such as lying about your condition, hiding work activity, or misrepresenting your limitations, your benefits will be terminated immediately. You'll also have to repay every dollar you received, and you could face criminal prosecution with fines and prison time. The fifth trigger is incarceration. If you're convicted and imprisoned for more than 30 continuous days, your SSDI benefits are suspended. They're not terminated, just suspended. When you're released, you can request reinstatement. Protect yourself by keeping all medical appointments, documenting your limitations honestly, responding to every SSA request, and knowing that 10-day deadline. Supplemental security income is a completely different animal from the programs we've discussed so far. SSI is a needs-based program, which means you don't just have to be disabled or elderly to qualify. You also have to be poor. And because it's needs-based, the rules for keeping your benefits are stricter, the reporting requirements are more demanding, and the ways you can lose your benefits are more numerous than any other Social Security program. If you're on SSI, this section could literally save your benefits. Pay close attention. The first and most common termination trigger for SSI is exceeding the resource limit. This is the rule that catches more SSI recipients off guard than any other. The resource limits for SSI are brutally simple. If you're an individual, you cannot have more than $2,000 in countable resources. If you're a married couple, you cannot have more than $3,000. That's it. Go over that limit by even $1, even for one single day, and your SSI benefits can be suspended for that entire month. Let me tell you what counts as a resource. Cash counts. Bank accounts count, including checking and savings. Stocks, bonds, and investments count. A second vehicle counts. Property other than your primary home counts. Life insurance policies with cash value over $1,500 count. If you can convert it to cash and use it for food or shelter, it probably counts as a resource. Now let me tell you what doesn't count. Your primary home does not count, regardless of its value. You could live in $1 million house and still qualify for SSI as long as it's your primary residence. One vehicle does not count, regardless of its value. You could drive a brand new truck and that's fine, but the moment you have a second vehicle, that second one counts. Household goods and personal effects don't count. Burial plots and up to $1,500 in dedicated burial funds don't count. Life insurance with a face value under $1,500 doesn't count. Here's the problem that nobody talks about. The $2,000 resource limit was set in 1989. It has not been adjusted for inflation in over 35 years. In 1989, $2,000 had the purchasing power of roughly $5,000 to $5,500 in today's dollars. But the limit hasn't moved. Think about what this means in practical terms. In 1989, a decent used car might cost $500 to $1,000. Today, that same quality used car costs $4,000 to $6,000. In 1989, you could keep a small emergency fund and stay under the limit. Today, one unexpected expense can wipe you out and you can't save enough to prepare for it. Let me give you a real scenario that happens constantly. You're on SSI with $1,500 in your bank account. Tax season comes around and you receive a $600 tax refund. That refund hits your account and suddenly you have $2,100. You're over the limit. Your benefits for that month can be suspended. You have until the end of the following month to spend down to under $2,000, but if you don't manage it correctly, you lose that month's check. Now here's where people really get themselves in trouble. The transfer penalty. Let's say you realize you're over the resource limit and you think, I'll just give this money to my daughter to hold for me. Bad idea. Terrible idea. If you transfer resources for less than fair market value, the SSA can impose a penalty period where you're completely ineligible for SSI benefits. The penalty period can last months or even years depending on how much you transferred. And it's not just cash. If you sell your car to your son for $1 when it's worth $5,000, that's a $4,999 transfer that can trigger a massive penalty. If you add someone to your bank account and they withdraw money, that can be considered a transfer. The rules are strict and the penalties are severe. The second major termination trigger is excess income. SSI has complex income rules that can reduce or completely eliminate your monthly payment. Here's how the basic calculation works. The maximum federal SSI benefit in 2026 is approximately $967 per month for an individual. Your actual payment is reduced based on your countable income. First, the SSA excludes the first $20 of any income you receive. Then, for earned income from work, they exclude an additional $65. After those exclusions, your SSI benefit is reduced by $1 for every $2 of earned income. Let me walk through an example. You get a part-time job earning $500 per month. The SSA takes your $500 and subtracts the $20 general exclusion, leaving $480. Then they subtract the $65 earned income exclusion, leaving $415. Then they divide that by 2, which gives you $207.50. Your SSI benefit is reduced by $207.50, so instead of $967, you receive about $760. If your income gets high enough, your SSI payment can be reduced all the way to zero. For earned income, this happens at around $2,019 per month. And here's the termination trigger. If your SSI payment is zero for 12 consecutive months because of income, your eligibility can be terminated entirely. You'd have to reapply. The third termination trigger is something called in-kind support and maintenance. This is where the SSA counts help you receive from others as income. If someone else pays for your food or shelter, even if no cash changes hands, the SSA counts this as income and reduces your benefit. For example, you move in with your adult daughter and she pays all the rent and buys all the groceries. You're not paying anything for food or shelter. The SSA considers this in-kind support and can reduce your benefit by up to 1/3 of the federal benefit rate plus $20. That's roughly $342 per month in 2026. Your $967 benefit could drop to around $625 just because someone is helping you with living expenses. The fourth termination trigger is the 12-month incarceration rule. For SSI, the incarceration rules are more severe than for SSDI. If you're imprisoned for 30 continuous days, your SSI is suspended. But if you're imprisoned for 12 continuous months or more, your SSI is terminated completely. Not suspended. Terminated. To get benefits again after release, you must file a brand new application and go through the entire eligibility process from scratch. The fifth termination trigger is leaving the United States. If you leave the country for 30 consecutive days or more, your SSI benefits stop. And here's the catch that gets people. Even if you come back within 30 days, your benefits only restart if you then stay in the United States for at least 30 consecutive days. So if you leave for 20 days, come back for 10 days, then leave again for 15 days, your benefits could be affected because you weren't continuously in the country for 30 days after returning. The sixth termination trigger is failure to report changes. SSI has strict reporting requirements. You must report changes in income, changes in resources, changes in living arrangements, changes in marital status, address changes, and starting or stopping work. You generally have 10 days to report these changes. Failure to report can result in overpayments that you'll have to repay, and repeated failures can result in termination. The seventh trigger applies to disabled SSI recipients. Just like SSDI, you can lose SSI disability benefits through a continuing disability review if the SSA determines you're no longer disabled. The same 10-day rule applies. If you receive a cessation notice, you have 10 days to request benefit continuation during your appeal. SSI requires constant vigilance. Know your resource limit. Report every change. Understand how income affects your payment. These rules are unforgiving, but if you follow them, you can protect your benefits. If you're receiving Social Security benefits based on someone else's work record, whether as a widow, widower, ex-spouse, child, or disabled adult child, there are specific termination triggers that apply to your situation. These rules are different from the rules for retirement or disability benefits, and not knowing them could cost you thousands of dollars or even your entire benefit. Let's start with survivor benefits for widows and widowers. When your spouse passes away, you may be eligible to receive survivor benefits based on their work record. The amount depends on several factors, including your age when you claim and how much your spouse earned during their working years. A surviving spouse at full retirement age can receive 100% of what the deceased worker would have received. Claiming earlier reduces that amount, down to about 71.5% if you claim at age 60. The biggest termination trigger for survivor benefits is remarriage before age 60. If you're receiving survivor benefits as a widow or widower and you remarry before you turn 60, your survivor benefits are terminated. Not reduced. Not suspended. Terminated. You lose the entire benefit based on your deceased spouse's record. Let me put this in real dollar terms so you understand what's at stake. Let's say your survivor benefit is $2,200 per month based on your late spouse's earnings record. That's $26,400 per year. If you remarry at age 58, you lose that entire amount. If you wait just 2 more years and remarry at 60, you keep it. Over a 20-year retirement, that decision could mean the difference of over $500,000. Here's the rule to remember. If you remarry at age 60 or later, you can keep your survivor benefits. One birthday could literally be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to you. If you're a widow or widower in your late 50s and considering remarriage, have a serious conversation about timing. This is not romantic advice. This is financial survival advice. There's an exception for disabled surviving spouses. If you're disabled, you can receive survivor benefits as early as age 50. In this case, the remarriage cutoff is also age 50. Remarry before 50 and you lose the benefits. Remarry at 50 or later and you keep them. Now let's talk about survivor benefits that terminate for other reasons. If you become entitled to a retirement benefit on your own work record that's higher than your survivor benefit, you'll receive your own benefit instead. This isn't really a termination in the negative sense because you're getting more money. But technically, your survivor benefit ends and is replaced by your own retirement benefit. Also, survivor benefits for caring for a child end when the child turns 16, unless the child is disabled. If you're a young widow or widower receiving benefits because you're caring for your deceased spouse's child, those benefits stop when the child reaches 16, regardless of your age. Now let's discuss benefits for divorced spouses. If you were married for at least 10 years before divorcing, you may be eligible for benefits based on your ex-spouse's work record. This applies to both spousal benefits while your ex is alive and survivor benefits after your ex passes away. The 10-year rule is absolute. If you were married for 9 years and 11 months, you don't qualify. You needed to hit that 10-year mark. This is why some divorce attorneys advise clients who are close to the 10-year mark to delay finalizing the divorce if possible. 1 extra month of marriage could mean decades of benefit eligibility. For divorced spouse benefits on a living ex-spouse record, remarriage generally terminates your eligibility. If you remarry, you can no longer collect spousal benefits on your ex's record. However, if your subsequent marriage ends through death, divorce, or annulment, your eligibility for benefits on your first ex-spouse record can be restored. For divorced spouse survivor benefits, the remarriage rules are similar to regular survivor benefits. If you remarry before age 60, you lose eligibility for survivor benefits on your deceased ex-spouse record. Remarry at 60 or later and you can keep them. Now let's talk about child benefits. Children can receive Social Security benefits on a parent's record when that parent is receiving retirement or disability benefits, or when that parent has died. The benefit can be up to 50% of the parent's benefit for a living parent, or 75% for a deceased parent. The primary termination trigger for child benefits is aging out. Child benefits generally end when the child reaches age 18. If the child is still in high school at 18, benefits can continue until graduation or until age 19, whichever comes first. Once they graduate or turn 19, the benefits stop. There's an important exception for disabled children. If a child became disabled before age 22 and remains disabled, they may be able to continue receiving benefits indefinitely as a disabled adult child, also called DAC benefits. This is a critical transition that families need to plan for. If you have a child on your record who is approaching 18 and has a significant disability, you need to start the DAC application process well before their 18th birthday. The transition from child benefits to DAC benefits is not automatic. The SSA will conduct a disability determination using adult criteria, which is different from the criteria used for children. If you wait until the last minute, there could be a gap in benefits while the determination is made. DAC benefits have their own termination triggers. The biggest one is marriage. If you're receiving DAC benefits and you get married, your benefits will generally be terminated. This creates an incredibly difficult situation for disabled adults who want to get married but can't afford to lose their benefits and healthcare coverage. There are exceptions to the marriage termination rule for DAC recipients. If you marry another DAC beneficiary, both of you can keep your benefits. If you marry someone who is receiving SSDI or retirement benefits, you may be able to keep your benefits. But if you marry someone who is not on any Social Security benefits, your DAC benefits will likely be terminated. This is a complex area with serious financial consequences. If you're a DAC recipient considering marriage, or if you're the parent of a DAC recipient who is in a relationship, consult with the SSA or a benefits attorney before any wedding plans are finalized. One decision made without full information could cost a lifetime of benefits. DAC recipients can also lose benefits through the same work-related rules as regular SSDI recipients. The SGA limit applies. The trial work period and extended period of eligibility apply. If a DAC recipient consistently earns over $1,690 per month after exhausting those protective periods, their benefits can be terminated. Let me also mention dependent spouse benefits briefly. If you're receiving spousal benefits on a living spouse's record, those benefits end if you divorce before being married for 10 years. They can also end if your spouse's benefits end, since your benefit is dependent on theirs. There's also the family maximum to be aware of. When multiple family members are receiving benefits on one worker's record, there's a cap on the total amount that can be paid. If your family is at the maximum and another family member becomes eligible, your individual benefit might be reduced to stay under the cap. This isn't a termination, but it can significantly affect your monthly payment. The key takeaways for survivor and dependent benefits are these. Widows and widowers should remember age 60 for remarriage. Divorced spouses should remember the 10-year marriage requirement. Parents of disabled children should plan the DAC transition before age 18. DAC recipients should think very carefully before marriage. Knowing these rules gives you the power to make informed decisions about your life without accidentally destroying your financial security. Now we're going to cover the termination triggers that apply across all Social Security programs. It doesn't matter if you're on retirement, SSDI, SSI, survivor benefits, or dependent benefits. These triggers can end your benefits no matter what program you're receiving. Some of these are obvious, but others catch people completely off guard. The first universal trigger is death. This seems obvious, but there are important details you need to understand. When a beneficiary dies, their benefits end. The SSA does not pay benefits for the month of death. If someone passes away on January 15th, they are not entitled to a benefit for January. Any payment received for that month must be returned. This creates problems when benefits are paid by direct deposit. The payment for January typically arrives in early February. If the beneficiary died in January, that February payment needs to be returned. Family members who don't understand this rule sometimes spend that money, only to receive a bill from the SSA months later demanding repayment. Here's what's changing in 2026 and beyond. The SSA is using enhanced data matching to identify deceased beneficiaries faster than ever before. They're connected to state vital records databases, the IRS, Medicare systems, and other government databases. In the past, it might take the SSA weeks or even months to learn about a death. Now, they often know within days. The SSA also has programs to identify potentially deceased beneficiaries who haven't been officially reported. If someone stops using their Medicare, stops filing taxes, and has no activity on their Social Security number for an extended period, the SSA will investigate. They'll attempt to make contact, and if they can't verify the person is alive, benefits can be suspended. On the flip side, the SSA is also getting better at catching people who continue to collect benefits for deceased family members. This is fraud, and it's taken very seriously. If your parent passes away and you continue cashing their Social Security checks or letting direct deposits accumulate in a joint account, you will be caught. The penalties include repaying every dollar received after death, plus potential criminal prosecution. The second universal trigger is fraud and misrepresentation. Fraud will terminate your benefits faster than almost anything else, and the consequences extend far beyond just losing your monthly check. What constitutes Social Security fraud? Concealing work activity while receiving disability benefits. Using someone else's Social Security number to work or claim benefits. Providing false medical evidence to obtain disability benefits. Not reporting income or resources to SSI. Making false statements on applications or forms. Identity theft schemes involving Social Security numbers. Helping someone else commit any of these acts. The SSA has dedicated fraud investigation units and works closely with the Office of Inspector General. They use data analysis, surveillance, social media monitoring, tips from the public, and cooperation with other law enforcement agencies to identify fraud. When fraud is discovered, here's what happens. First, your benefits are terminated immediately. Second, you must repay every dollar you received improperly. This could be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Third, you may be barred from receiving Social Security benefits in the future. Fourth, you can face criminal prosecution. Social Security fraud is a federal crime that can result in fines up to $250,000 and imprisonment up to 5 years. The technology available to detect fraud is better than it's ever been. Cross-referencing databases can identify people working under the table. AI systems can flag suspicious patterns in claims. Social media posts showing physical activities can contradict disability claims. If you're committing fraud, the question is not if you'll be caught, but when. The third universal trigger is fugitive felon status. If you have an outstanding felony warrant for certain offenses, your benefits can be suspended. The qualifying offenses are flight to avoid prosecution or confinement, escape from custody, and flight escape. It's important to note that since 2011, this only applies to felony-level violations. If you have a misdemeanor warrant, it won't affect your Social Security benefits. But if you have a felony warrant for escape or flight, your benefits will be suspended until the warrant is cleared. Once the warrant situation is resolved, whether through arrest, appearing in court, or the warrant being recalled, you can request reinstatement of benefits. You may even be able to receive back benefits for the suspension period if you can show you weren't actually fleeing. The fourth universal trigger is violation of parole or probation in specific circumstances. While a general probation violation won't affect your benefits, if that violation results in a warrant for your arrest for flight or escape as described above, your benefits can be suspended. The fifth universal trigger is failure to cooperate with the SSA. Every Social Security program requires some level of cooperation with the agency. You must respond to requests for information. You must complete forms when asked. You must attend appointments scheduled by the SSA. You must provide documentation to verify your continued eligibility. If you refuse to cooperate with reasonable SSA requests, your benefits can be suspended or terminated. The key word is reasonable. The SSA can't demand that you do unreasonable things. But if they ask you to attend a consultative medical examination, you need to go. If they send you a form to verify your living situation, you need to complete it. If they request medical records releases, you need to sign them. What happens if you have a legitimate reason you can't comply? Maybe you were hospitalized. Maybe you moved and never received the letter. Maybe there was a family emergency. In these cases, communicate with the SSA immediately. They have some flexibility for good cause, but you have to explain the situation. Ignoring their requests and hoping they go away is a guaranteed path to losing your benefits. The sixth universal trigger is being outside the United States for extended periods. The rules vary by program. For SSDI and retirement benefits, you can generally receive benefits while living abroad, with some restrictions based on the country. Certain countries are prohibited, and there may be requirements to check in periodically with a U.S. embassy or consulate. For SSI, the rules are much stricter. As we discussed earlier, being outside the United States for 30 or more consecutive days stops your SSI benefits entirely. This rule exists because SSI is designed for people living in the United States. The seventh universal trigger is administrative error. Sometimes benefits are terminated not because of anything you did, but because the SSA made a mistake. Wrong information gets entered into the system. Computer glitches cause incorrect processing. Cases get mixed up with people who have similar names or social security numbers. Processing errors result in wrongful terminations. If you believe your benefits were terminated due to an SSA error, take immediate action. Contact the SSA right away, either by phone or in person at your local office. Request a written explanation of why your benefits were terminated. Provide any evidence you have that the termination was an error. Request reinstatement in writing so you have documentation. Follow up persistently until the issue is resolved. Administrative errors can often be corrected faster than going through the formal appeals process. Don't assume you did something wrong. Ask questions and advocate for yourself. The eighth universal trigger is presumption of death. If the SSA cannot locate you for 7 years, you may be legally presumed dead and your benefits will be terminated. This typically happens after mail is returned as undeliverable multiple times, phone numbers are disconnected, there's no activity on your social security number, and multiple attempts to contact you fail. This might sound unlikely, but it happens more often than you'd think, particularly with people who become homeless, who move frequently, who travel extensively, or who have cognitive decline and don't maintain their affairs. If you move, update your address with the SSA. If you're going to be unreachable for a period, let someone know who can respond on your behalf. The bottom line for universal triggers is this: stay in touch with the SSA, don't commit fraud, keep your address updated, and respond to every piece of mail they send you. These basic practices will protect you from most universal termination triggers. We've covered a lot of ground in this video. You now understand more about Social Security termination triggers than 99% of beneficiaries out there. But knowledge alone doesn't protect your benefits. You need to take action. So let me give you a concrete, step-by-step action plan that you can implement this week to protect your benefits throughout 2026 and beyond. Action number 1 is to know your numbers. Throughout this video, I've given you specific dollar amounts that determine whether you keep or lose your benefits. These numbers need to be somewhere you can reference them easily. Write them down right now. The retirement earnings test limit for 2026 is $24,480 per year. That's the maximum you can earn before full retirement age without having benefits withheld. The SGA limit for non-blind disabled individuals is $1,690 per month. The SGA limit for blind individuals is $2,830 per month. The trial work month threshold is $1,160. Earn over that in any month and it counts as one of your 9 trial work months. The SSI resource limit is $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a married couple. The quarter of coverage amount is $1,890. That's how much you need to earn to get 1 credit towards Social Security eligibility. Put these numbers somewhere you'll see them. On your refrigerator. In your phone's notes app. On a card in your wallet. When you're making decisions about work, savings, or major purchases, you need these numbers fresh in your mind. Action number 2 is to create a benefits file. From this day forward, you need to keep organized records of everything related to your Social Security benefits. Get a folder, a binder, or create a digital folder on your computer. Label it Social Security and start collecting documents. What goes in this file? Every letter you receive from the SSA. Every form you submit to the SSA. Make copies before you send anything. Your original award letter showing when your benefits started and how much you receive. Any medical records related to disability claims. Documentation of your income, including pay stubs and tax returns. Bank statements if you're on SSI and need to prove resources. Notes from any phone calls with the SSA, including the date, time, and name of who you spoke with. If there's ever a dispute about your benefits, if you're ever accused of an overpayment, if you ever need to appeal a decision, this file will be your lifeline. People who keep good records have far better outcomes than people who throw everything in a drawer and can't find anything when they need it. Action number 3 is to set up a My Social Security account if you haven't already. Go to ssa.gov and create an account. This is free and takes about 10 minutes. Once you have an account, you can view your current benefit amount, check your payment history to make sure deposits are correct, update your address and direct deposit information, download benefit verification letters when you need proof of income, see your earnings history and check it for errors, and monitor for suspicious activity on your Social Security number. If you already have an account, Log in this week and make sure everything looks correct. Verify your address is current. Check that your direct deposit information is accurate. Review your earnings history and make sure there are no missing years or incorrect amounts. Action number 4 is to memorize the 10-day rule. This is the most critical deadline in the entire Social Security system, and most people have never heard of it. If you ever receive a notice that your benefits are being terminated or that you've been found no longer disabled, you have 10 days from the date on that notice to request that your benefits continue while you appeal. 10 days. Not 60 days for the appeal itself. 10 days to request continuation of benefits during the appeal. Miss that 10-day window and your benefits stop immediately. You'll be fighting your appeal with zero income. Make that request within 10 days and your checks keep coming throughout the entire appeals process, which can take months or even years. I want you to create a reminder right now. Put it in your phone. Write it on an index card and tape it to your computer monitor. The reminder should say, "If I receive any SSA termination notice, request benefit continuation within 10 days. This one piece of knowledge could save you from financial disaster. Action number 5 is to report changes promptly. If anything changes in your life that could affect your benefits, report it to the SSA within 10 days. Don't wait until they find out on their own. Don't assume it doesn't matter. Report it. What needs to be reported? Changes in income, including starting a job, getting a raise, or losing a job. Changes in resources if you're on SSI, including inheritances, gifts, or selling property. Changes in living arrangements, including moving, getting a roommate, or someone moving out. Changes in marital status, including marriage, divorce, or separation. Changes in medical condition, whether improvement or worsening. Address changes even if you're just moving across town. Starting or stopping work even if it's just a few hours a week. Reporting changes protects you in 2 ways. First, it prevents overpayments. If you don't report and the SSA finds out later, you'll owe them money. Second, it shows good faith. If there's ever a question about your eligibility, having a history of prompt reporting works in your favor. Action number 6 is to maintain your medical documentation if you're on disability benefits. The single best thing you can do to protect your disability benefits is to keep seeing your doctors regularly and make sure your medical records accurately reflect your limitations. Here's what you should do. Keep all your medical appointments. Gaps in treatment look like improvement to the SSA. Be honest with your doctors about what you can and can't do. Don't downplay your symptoms because you don't want to complain. Ask your doctors to document your functional limitations specifically. Not just your diagnosis but what you can't do because of it. Consider getting a residual functional capacity assessment from your treating physician. This is a form that documents specific limitations like how long you can stand, how much you can lift, how well you can concentrate. Keep copies of your medical records. Request them periodically so you know what's in your file. Action number 7 is to respond to everything from the SSA. Every letter. Every form. Every request. Even if you don't understand it. Even if you think it's a mistake. Respond. If you get a letter you don't understand, call the SSA and ask what it means. If you get a form you're not sure how to complete, ask for help before the deadline. If you get a request you think is wrong, respond anyway and explain why you think it's wrong. The worst thing you can do is ignore SSA correspondence. That's how benefits get terminated. That's how small problems become big problems. When in doubt, respond. Action number 8 is to get help when you need it. You don't have to navigate this system alone. There are free resources available to you. The SSA website at ssa.gov has information on every program and every rule. The SSA phone number is 1-800-772-1213. Yes, hold times can be long, but they will answer your questions. Your local Social Security office can provide in-person help. WIPA programs. That stands for Work Incentives Planning and Assistance. Provide free counseling if you're on disability and thinking about working. Legal aid organizations in your area may provide free help with appeals and disputes. If you have a complex situation or you're facing an appeal, consider consulting with a disability attorney or a benefits specialist. The cost of professional help is usually far less than the cost of losing your benefits. You now have the knowledge and the action plan. Use them. Protect your benefits. Protect your future. We've been together for almost an hour now, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge something. You stayed. You watched. You invested your time in understanding how to protect your financial security. That puts you ahead of millions of Americans who have no idea these rules even exist until it's too late. Let me quickly recap what we covered today because I want these key points burned into your memory. That we started by understanding how Social Security actually works. It's not one program but several programs under one umbrella. Title II programs including retirement, SSDI, survivor benefits, and dependent benefits are earned through work and paying taxes. Title 16, which is SSI, is a needs-based program with stricter rules and more ways to lose benefits. Understanding which program you're on is the foundation of protecting your benefits. We covered retirement benefit terminations. The big one is the earnings test. In 2026, you can earn up to $24,480 before full retirement age without losing benefits. Go over that and you lose $1 for every $2 you earn above the limit. We talked about the government pension offset and windfall elimination provision that can reduce or eliminate benefits for people with government pensions. And we discussed how working past full retirement age eliminates the earnings test entirely. We covered disability benefit terminations in depth. The SGA limit is $1,690 per month for non-blind individuals and $2,830 for blind individuals. But you get protections including the 9-month trial work period and 36-month extended period of eligibility. After those protections expire, earning over SGA means termination. We talked about continuing disability reviews and how the SSA is using more AI and automation in 2026 to review cases more thoroughly. And we emphasized the critical 10-day rule for requesting benefit continuation during appeals. We covered SSI terminations, which have the strictest rules of any program. The resource limit of $2,000 for individuals and $3,000 for couples hasn't changed since 1989. Income reduces your benefit dollar for dollar after small exclusions. In-kind support counts as income. Leaving the country for 30 days stops your benefits. Being incarcerated for 12 months terminates your benefits entirely. And transferring resources to get under the limit can result in penalty periods that make things even worse. We covered survivor and dependent benefit terminations. The remarriage before age 60 rule for widows and widowers is critical to understand. The 10-year marriage requirement for divorced spouse benefits can make or break your eligibility. Child benefits end at 18 or 19, but disabled adult child benefits can continue indefinitely with proper planning. And DAC recipients need to think very carefully about marriage because it can terminate their benefits. We covered universal termination triggers that apply to everyone. Death, fraud, fugitive felon status, failure to cooperate, extended time outside the country, administrative errors, and presumption of death after 7 years of no contact. The common thread is that staying in communication with the SSA and following the rules protects you from almost all of these. And we finished with your 8-point action plan. Know your numbers. Create a benefits file. Set up your My Social Security account. Memorize the 10-day rule. Report changes promptly. Maintain your medical documentation. Respond to everything from the SSA. And get help when you need it. That's a lot of information, and I don't expect you to remember every detail. That's why I've put together resources to help you. In the description below this video, you'll find links to the SSA website, the phone number for Social Security, and information about finding help in your area. I've also included timestamps so you can come back to any section of this video whenever you need a refresher. Now let me talk directly to a few specific groups of people who might be watching. If you're currently working while receiving benefits, whether retirement or disability, please go back and rewatch the sections on earnings limits. Make sure you understand exactly how much you can earn without affecting your benefits. Run the numbers for your specific situation. A small miscalculation could cost you thousands of dollars. If you're on SSI, I know the rules feel overwhelming and unfair. The resource limits are outdated. The reporting requirements are burdensome. The penalties are harsh. But until Congress changes these laws, you have to work within the system. Keep your resources under the limit. Report every change. Don't transfer assets without understanding the consequences. I know it's hard, but losing your benefits would be harder. If you're a caregiver for someone on benefits, whether an aging parent, a disabled spouse, or a disabled adult child, much of what we discussed today is your responsibility to help manage. Make sure you understand the rules that apply to your loved one. Help them keep records. Help them respond to SSA correspondence. Help them make it to medical appointments. Your involvement could be the difference between them keeping or losing their benefits. If you're approaching a transition, maybe you're about to turn 18 and you're on child benefits, maybe you're a widow considering remarriage, maybe you're on disability and thinking about trying to work, please take extra time to understand the rules before you make any decisions. One wrong move during a transition can have permanent consequences. When in doubt, call the SSA or consult with a benefits specialist before taking action. If you're currently fighting to keep your benefits, if you've received a termination notice or you're in the middle of an appeal, don't give up. The appeals process exists for a reason. Many initial terminations are overturned on appeal. Make sure you've requested benefit continuation if you're within the 10-day window. Gather your documentation. Consider getting professional help. You have rights and you should exercise them. I want to leave you with one final thought. The Social Security system is complicated. It's bureaucratic. It can feel like it's designed to trip you up. But at its core, these programs exist to provide a safety net for Americans who have earned it through work, who have become disabled, who have lost loved ones, or who are in need. These benefits belong to you. You have every right to receive them. And now you have the knowledge to protect them. Don't let a missed deadline take your benefits. Don't let an unreported change create an overpayment. Don't let ignorance of the rules cost you your financial security. You've watched this video. You've done the work. Now take what you've learned and put it into action. If this video helped you, I'm asking you to do 3 things. First, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. I create content like this regularly to help people navigate the Social Security system, and subscribing makes sure you don't miss important updates. Second, share this video with someone who needs it. Think about your family members, your friends, your neighbors who are on Social Security or approaching retirement. Send them this link. You could be helping them avoid a disaster they don't even know is coming. Third, drop a comment below and let me know your situation. What program are you on? What questions do you still have? I read every comment, and your questions help me create better content to help more people. Thank you for spending this hour with me. Your benefits matter. Your financial security matters. And now you know how to protect both. I'll see you in the next video.